everyone, I'm Alex Sams, and this is Lady Comic Book History, where we discuss female heroes, their evolution, and their impact on comics, comic book movies, and nerd culture in general. We are being brought to you by heroic girls using science fiction and media in the fight for gender equality. All right, everyone. This is my favorite episode because I get to talk about Scarlet Witch, and I'm very happy, and I can't wait to dive into this. Basically, when you're a part of as many nerd groups on the internets as I am, you see a lot of hero versus hero debates, and the comments are generally filled with people going to bat for their favorite, but without any sense or accuracy whatsoever. So today, I'm going to bat with my favorite, but I got receipts. So I'm going to tackle the most common heroes that the love of my life gets put up against. First up, we have Scarlet Witch versus Captain Marvel. I want to start this off by saying I love comic book Captain Marvel nearly as much as I love Scarlet Witch. Her movie could have been better, but I dove into that in my Carol episode. It's fine. This discussion is strictly on analysis of powers and feats to determine who would win in a one-on-one fight. First of all, we need to touch on Carol's mental health issues. I talked about it a little bit in Carol's episode, but here's the thing. Carol is an alcoholic, and due to the drastic and quick changes in her power levels, she essentially has split personalities. Carol is one, and Miss or Captain Marvel is the other. So talking about her set of powers and vulnerabilities gets a little bit complicated. For example, Captain Marvel is highly susceptible to mind control and manipulation. We've seen this in lots of storylines over and over and over and over and over and over again. But the one I'm citing is Captain Marvel Volume 1, Issue number 7. And mind control and manipulation is a power that Scarlet Witch uses quite a lot, and it's a stronger area of Wanda's powers. So Wanda could very, very easily get into Captain Marvel's head and manipulate her powers. So now theoretically, Carol could break her from the mind control. However, when it comes to a discussion of which has a greater concentration of power, Carol's human willpower or Wanda's mind control abilities, I think if we're all being honest with ourselves, we know the answer is Wanda's abilities, because given Carol's human limitations and the sheer scope of Wanda's abilities, it's just no contest. Wanda isn't a typical telepath. She has every power that relates or has any regard with the mind. The easiest way to think of her is as a personification of both the mind and reality stones. Or if we're speaking comic terms, reality and mind gems. But the point is, she has every ability regarding the mind control, mind manipulation, and there's just no way Carol's willpower outweighs that. Sorry. And though Carol has freed Captain Marvel from mind control before, it was out from under a much less powerful opponent. Next, we have the fact that Carol has absolutely no defense against magic. None whatsoever. And Scarlet Witch within herself is a magical being in literally any incarnation of her storyline. As a mutant or as just a witch, her entire existence and powers are grown from magic, which means any attack that Wanda launches, Carol cannot defend, and you can't fight when you have no defense. And this doesn't go both ways. There's nothing Wanda's vulnerable to that Carol has. The most powerful attack Carol has in her arsenal is her photon blasts, which Wanda can easily defend using her own energy blasts and absorptions, or her force fields, or her teleportation powers, or her power blocking powers. Jesus, the list goes on and on. I'm sorry. The only way Carol really even has a shot of beating Scarlet Witch is in her binary state. However, Wanda could easily combat that by saying no more binary, as she did to 75% of the mutant population and Phoenix Force, which is a stronger entity than Carol and Binary, or using the same power she used against Domino and House of M and simply block Carol from using her powers altogether. Honestly, the fact that any of the ones we're going to cover are even a conversation is hilarious to me, but this one's pretty cut and dry. Wanda would win, and it would be super easy. Next up, we have Scarlet Witch versus Thor. Now, oh my god, I see this one so often, and it's so stupid. Thor is physically stronger, but when it comes to raw power, really, guys? It's Scarlet Witch. Thor makes lightning. Ooh, scary thunder. And Scarlet Witch creates and destroys reality. Why are we even talking about this? Get it together. The only possible way Thor wins this one is if he keeps her fighting long enough that he simply wears Scarlet Witch down. Like, he wears her out. Because he has more endurance and durability. But again, she gets into his head, and it's over. So, good luck with that. I'm going to take a quick break before tackling the next two, and then I'm straight up just going to read you her power list. So, feel free to fight me. Be right back. Okay, guys, I am here to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. I had absolutely no idea where to start. I love listening to podcasts, and I knew I had a good idea for one, but I really didn't know how to get started with all the technical stuff. And Anchor makes it super easy. First of all, it's free, which is great when you're just starting out and you have no money to support your creative endeavors. Having free resources is amazing. And their creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or your phone. They have an app that makes it super easy to record everywhere. I have an adapter for my microphone that hooks into my phone, so I can literally record my podcast wherever I am, no matter what. Anchor also does all the heavy lifting for you. They distribute your podcast so it can be heard on all of the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more, which makes life so much easier. When there's someone handling the business distribution side of it, you get to focus on just creating, which is what I love to do. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. They handle all the sponsorship matching and everything for you. It's amazing. It's everything you need for your podcast all in one place. So if you are interested in executing your brilliant idea for a podcast, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Guys, seriously, it's the best decision you can make for your future podcast. All right, so this next one's going to piss people off, and I can't wait, okay? Because this one has actually beat her on the page. Twice. But you know why? And people are going to call this excuse. Let me change that. Not people. People with brain cells won't call this an excuse. Sexist jackwangs are going to call it an excuse. Because sexism. Doctor Strange. Anyone who actually knows the reality of these two characters and their powers knows that it's not even a contest. But as I've mentioned many times before, when men are in charge of female characters, somehow they never end up following through on the powers they set up for these women, especially when they're fighting men. And here we go anyway. This one's going to be rather short because, yes, he has beaten her. Twice in smaller scale fights. One, when she's not at the height of her power, and two, what immediately follows is a feat so big by her that he couldn't even fathom what happened. In fact, one of the first times he beat her, what resulted was House of M. So, just for those of you who don't know or haven't listened to me rant about this 50 times, the lead up to House of M was him trying to contain her. He happened to beat her to get her back to the X-Men manor, whatever. But then between him and Professor X, they could not contain her power. Professor X, the man that contained Dark Phoenix, which is a point you should remember for the next hero we talk about. But Doctor Strange plus Professor X could not contain Scarlet Witch's powers. And then we got House of M. So again, tell me why it would make any sense for Doctor Strange to have beaten her. Right, it doesn't. Moving on. She has magical awareness, which is basically a magical spidey sense. She can sense any magic that could possibly harm her. And she has magic nullification, which means, and let me say this really slowly for any dumbass listening. I know the people that listen loyally are with me on this, but I'm positive I get one or two sexist jackwangs on here just so they can find something to bitch about. So I'm going to say it really slowly for those people. She has magic nullification, which means she can nullify, cancel. Nullify means cancel out. Spells. She can cancel spells, which means there is no logical, non-sexist reason that Doctor Strange should ever be able to take on, let alone beat Scarlet Witch. And for those who will use him as him being Sorcerer Supreme as reasoning, I would like to remind you that she was also up for the title, but due to her emotional and mental instability, which we have already established is a sexist writing trope, she wasn't chosen. And second of all, she is a nexus being for all reality in the universe. You cannot tell me that doesn't outweigh someone who is constantly relying on external sources for his power. Take away verbal spells, he's useless. By the way, she can do that. Take away ancient artifacts that she can also wield, he's useless. The Vishanti decide to take away his powers again, he's useless. So let's stop. When sexism is taken out of the picture, Scarlet Witch kicks Doctor Strange's ass so fast. I don't know where people got this whole Doctor Strange is so strong idea in their heads, because he is also vulnerable to mental manipulation and possession. He has been depowered so many times, and not because the writers were like, he's too powerful, we gotta take him down, because his power relies on external sources. Almost none of it is actually him. You take away him having to say verbal spells, ancient artifacts, and his Vishanti bestowed powers, and he is such a Delta level hero. He'd be extraordinarily useless. He has to have so many external things to make him remotely relevant. Doctor Strange, not as cool as you think he is. Please read more comic books, or I don't know, take some reading comprehension classes, because he's weak as shit. Next, Scarlet Witch versus Dark Phoenix. Now, this one's interesting because when assessing the powers and capabilities of these two women, you get very similar results. However, as Scarlet Witch is one of the only entities that the Phoenix Five is afraid of, I'm not really sure why this one is ever a discussion either. Yes, both women suffer from the same bullshit sexist trope of having their emotional state tied to their power, and at the height of their overpoweredness, they both produce very chaotic energy. However, let's break this down by Phoenix entity, because I think the common misconception is that Dark Phoenix is the end-all be-all of Phoenix beings, and that is so exceptionally incorrect it physically pains me. Dark Phoenix is the weakest of the Phoenix entities. I'm going to say that again. Dark Phoenix, the most well-known one, the one specifically tied to Jean Grey, the one everyone thinks is like the most overpowered thing in the world, Dark Phoenix is the weakest of the Phoenix entities. Next one up being Phoenix Force, as it is an entity onto itself, and its strength does not wane or change based on its host. Which is why I posted an article a while back, Phoenix versus the Scarlet Witch, and one of the geniuses that commented under that was, Phoenix Force was Hope Summers, not Jean Grey. I said, first of all, the article says Phoenix versus Scarlet Witch, not Jean Grey versus Scarlet Witch. But let's go ahead and analyze that for a second. Phoenix Force is stronger than Dark Phoenix. Phoenix Force is an entity onto itself. Phoenix Force, its power does not change based on who it's attached to, so it doesn't matter that it was Hope Summers and not Jean Grey. Anyway, the strongest Phoenix entity is White Phoenix. Now, Scarlet Witch has encountered Phoenix Force, Avengers vs. X-Men, and she has banished Phoenix Force from Hope Summers and the world because Phoenix Force can't die, so that was like the most she could do was banishing it. By doing what, class? Saying the words, "No more Phoenix." Now, given this, and given that Phoenix Force is stronger and more powerful than Dark Phoenix, I'm not sure why Scarlet Witch versus Dark Phoenix is still a question, because all common sense roads lead to Scarlet Witch. In short, none of the heroes on this list can realistically beat my Wanda. Now I'm going to go ahead and read off her list of powers for you, because lots of people just only associate her with telepathy and her reality bending powers. But it's so much more than that. And I'm going to read off her powers because I have a list. And then on her Facebook page, I will post a works cited, basically, stating which comic book she used each of these powers in, because I like receipts and I like citing specific issue numbers. And that way, no one can tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not. Just know that if it's on this podcast, I'm not wrong. I did the research. First up, we have astral projection, which Doctor Strange also has. But we also have binding. Wanda can bind and stop someone from moving with her magic. And she has used this to stop someone as strong as Colossus from moving. Chronokinesis, which means she can manipulate and control time as she is a Nexus being, without the help of, let's say, I don't know, the fucking time stone. This is just coming from her. She has clairvoyance. She has shown the ability to gain information by other means than her physical senses. Energy blasts, which beam emission, bullet projection, energy wave emission, omnidirectional energy waves, energy cutting, energy pillar projection, scatter shots, magical energy weapons creation, all of that. That's all energy projection. Energy absorption, which I think we first saw, well, not first saw, but she once absorbed Wonder Man's powers as a power source and used it to teleport all of mutant kind into a spaceship. Exorcism, flight, force field, generation, imprisonment, deflection, all of that. Healing, holographic projection, illusions, invocation. That's what I was talking about, magical awareness. She's shown the ability to be aware of almost anything that affects her and her surroundings. Anything. She's also has supernatural tracking. She has traced where Doctor Strange last used magical energies. Again, tell me how the fuck he beat her. Doesn't make any sense. Nature manipulation. So, reminder that Scarlet Witch, after she was a mutant, they retconned her into being an actual witch, which is stupid. She's Magneto's kid. They can retcon it all they want. It was a stupid ass decision, and I have elected to ignore it. But that means she has elemental manipulation. So she has nature controlled or nature tapped in magical powers. She did learn this under Agatha Harkness. So wind, fire, water. Ready? She has electrokinesis. So I'm just saying, in her fight with Thor, she can create and manipulate lightning. So literally anything he throws at her, she's got this. Necromancy, we have seen her bring back the dead several times. Power augmentation, she can enhance, increase, and boost the powers of the people and heroes around her. Precognition, we know about her reality warping, replication, solid energy constructs, which just means that she can take her magical energy and solidify it into, like, she's used it to create a shield, sword, knife, whips, other things like that. Spell negation, we talked a little bit about. She has the ability to nullify spells and their effects. I mean, she has spells and phrases just like Doctor Strange does. She just doesn't need to rely on them. Telekinesis, telepathy. Now, I mentioned that she literally has the power to do anything and everything surrounding the mind. She can enter people's mindscape with or without their consent or knowing about it. sleep inducement, mind control, mind reading, telepathic illusions, and telepathic communication. That's all things she can use to fuck with other heroes without being anywhere near them. Teleportation. Guess what? More things she can do that Doctor Strange can, but she's better at it because she doesn't need external sources or help. Portal creation, dimension travel, summoning and banishment, transmutation, witch sight, which means, how do I explain this? As a witch, she can see beyond what normal humans can. She was able to see Agatha Harkness's spirit, and Moondragon's psychic attack, which had been stated that no human eye could do that. Hold on, I think candle wax is dripping all over everything. All right, everyone, I apologize. I am back. I had candles lit, and it was one of the big ones, and I've had these for a while, so the sides collapsed in, and the wax started dripping everywhere. So I fixed it. Okay, where were we? We just finished witch sight. All right, probability manipulation. So think of this as like Domino's probability powers, but like times a million. Basically, if she wants something to happen, it's happening. That's how she blew a gas main under the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants lair back in the early 70s. She can also use ancient artifacts. She used one to defeat Dormammu, also back in the 70s. She used I don't remember which one she used. The Eye of whatever, I can't pronounce it. But yeah, she's a long list of powers that just no other hero can touch, and I think it's absolutely absurd that it's even a question. But okay, that's what happens when men create an overpowered hero, and then they decide they don't actually want her to be overpowered because she's a she. But that's my rant for the day. Everyone have a lovely day, and I will talk to you next time. I'm Alexandria Sams, and for more comic book related content, check out my YouTube page as well as my vocalmedia.com. Just search my name in that creators bar. My Instagram is fangirlproductions13, and you can check out all of my work, my personal writing, articles, comic book stuff on ladycomicbookhistory.squarespace.com. This has been Lady Comic Book History, and I will talk to you guys next time.